Hello Summoners, I'm Tia, and today we're going to look into the future of Wild Rift. Which champion should we expect to see? What possible new game modes are coming in the future, and how is Wild Rift esports holding up? Without further ado, let's jump right in. Riot has made plenty of game modes for League of Legends over the years. Ultra Rapid Fire, One for All, and All Random All Mid, also known as ARAM, are some of the names that stick out the most. These are, for the most part, League PC exclusives, so what game modes can we expect from Wild Rift? The first, and so far only, additional game mode implemented into Wild Rift is the temporary ARAM. It's a little unfortunate that the mode is temporary, but we're speculating that ARAM will eventually be swapped out with another game mode, a decisive choice to accommodate for the small populace of players. After all, what good is a new game mode if you can't find a match? This opens the gateway for a flood of new game modes to debut on the Wild Rift. Champion and skin-specific events are definitely on the table, especially with the Rengar and Kha'Zix event, presenting the idea of game-changing mechanics alongside champion lore that begin to make the gameplay more novel and engaging. Before we go any further, let's address our question of the day. What game mode would you like to see brought into Wild Rift? Personally, I'm a fan of the Odyssey event and taking on Raid Boss Kayn. It was so much fun. But be sure to tell us your thoughts in the comments down below, and hey, while you're there, you might as well leave us a like and subscribe to keep up to date on all things Wild Rift. There have been many champion and theme-specific events in both PC leagues and Wild Rift's past, with the previous KDA Popstar event on Wild Rift having shown us unique insight into the idols. I believe skin-themed modes that provide new gameplay are going to dazzle the Rift, like in the Star Guardian event known as Invasion. This game mode is team versus AI, differing drastically from the typical PvP format. Players start at level 8 with 2600 gold, allowing the gameplay to be action-oriented from the very beginning. That's a free Athene's Unholy Grail for all you support players out there, ayo. You and your team take on waves of enemies leading up to a final boss. It's actually pretty exciting taking on void monsters and traveling to different parts of Runeterra. That's a major highlight of these extended game modes, exploring more of Runeterra and really seeing the lore of League. In another game mode, Ascension, you are brought to the center of Shurima, where Azir was supposed to ascend into an ascended Shuriman, but had his ascension stolen by Xerath. This fight is historically cool, taking you right into the shoes of Renekton and Nasus as you fight against a giant ascended Xerath. The best part is if your champion was the last to damage Xerath, you alone ascend, gaining a massive damage and defensive boost while increasing in size. This game-changing buff allows you to play as a raid boss until you die. Ascension's map design was based on another older map called Dominion. Dominion was shut down a few years back, but like Ascension, it had a circular map with objectives around the edges of the circle. This more rounded map design has been popular with League game modes and was displayed in Darkstar to center the map around a giant black hole. Events like Darkstar and Odyssey have chambers in which you would fight different enemies, but always a circular map to take on the main event. In Odyssey, you travel to different star systems outside of Runeterra along with the crew from the Odyssey. You get a choice of using Sona, Ziggs, Yasuo, Jinx, Malphite, and Kayn. However, in this story, Kayn becomes evil and you have to fight him off as one of the other champions. Seeing as all these champions with the exception of Kayn are in the game, maybe they will release this game mode alongside him in the future. I would like to remind you guys that these are game modes that have come to League of Legends in the past, but this does not guarantee they will be coming to Wild Rift. But something I can guarantee, Riot loves their new champions and skins, so the idea of new game modes that promote both of these in the future is not so far-fetched. After all, Wild Rift is a young and blossoming game with endless possibilities for the future. Speaking of the future, let's talk about future champs that could enter the meta. In the next couple of weeks, we can expect to see Renekton join the Rift, but who's going to come out after that? So far, champions in Wild Rift have been released in groups of 6, with most of the champions following a theme. In October, they announced Draven, Darius, Kai'Sa, Evelynn, Akali, and Seraphine all together in a group. Darius and Draven were grouped as brothers, while the rest of the cast for KDA was released together. We saw a similar release pattern in February with the Yordle update. That update brought us 5 Yordles and Wukong, but if you know his background, he's a little bit of a lone wolf, a lone monkey in this case. Now, this brings us back to patch 2.2, which gave us our Shuriman grouping of Rammus, Kha'Zix, Rengar, and Renekton, with Galio being the loner this time around. The next group of champions could be from any region or skin line, making speculation difficult. In the future, we might get a Dark Star-themed character release, with some of the Dark Star champions already released such as Lux, Jhin, Malphite, Orianna, and now Kha'Zix. A mini Dark Star-themed event and champion could potentially come with it. Right now, the Dark Star champions we are missing are Cho'Gath, Karma, Mordekaiser, Xerath, Thresh, and Shaco. Although there are 6 champions missing from the Dark Star line and 6 champions per release, we don't believe all these champions would be released together. Cho'Gath, Karma, Mordekaiser, and Xerath might be released together, but trying to implement Shaco's mobile gameplay and Thresh's map control will be difficult to translate into Wild Rift. Is it even possible to control 2 Shaco clones with just touch controls? Also, neither Senna nor Lucian have been released in Wild Rift, and Thresh can't seem to keep his hooks off the couple. Champions with simple ability designs like Cho'Gath and Karma have an easier time transitioning to the Rift, making them a strong case for being put into the game before others. I know we already asked the question of the day, but I want to know your thoughts on this, so if you want a platform to discuss future champion releases and speculations, be sure to join our community Discord. Yay! The Rift is always offering new chances for characters and players alike, and this has never been more true with Wild Rift's esports scene. What can we expect regarding Wild Rift and esports? Well, Riot's global head of esports, John Needham, said, "While it's still incredibly early, we are all very excited to bring our passion and dedication for esports to mobile. We're committed to building this authentic league experience for years to come and planning to get things started with Wild Rift esports in 2021. This was said earlier in January and has evolved since the US release of Wild Rift. Now, there are talks of regional competitions that will qualify teams for an international tournament in the future. League of Legends Esports Twitter tweeted out, "Good news for everyone enjoying Wild Rift. Esports tournaments will kick off this summer with regional competition that will qualify teams from around the world into our first ever international tournament later this year. More info coming soon." This international tournament could be the world's event for Wild Rift and should start to see more major esports teams adopting a Wild Rift crew to spice up the competition. This is major news for everyone in Wild Rift because esports tournaments bring in a larger player base and even larger events. Our team speculates multiple Wild Rift passes, skins, and hopefully game modes to match. These will help bring attention to the world's event, creating a unique experience for players to look forward to. So far, the esports scene in Wild Rift has been exploding in Southeast Asia. The SEA preseason Icon Series has concluded after 54 teams from 7 different countries have participated. We saw Invade Esports take first in Thailand, Next Play Esports in the Philippines, and even Flash Wolves getting a win in Taiwan. Each of the tournaments had a prize pool of $5,000 American dollars, with the winners receiving $2,500 of the total winnings. The Southeast Asian esports craze does not end there. This summer, all 7 countries from the last SEA event will be participating in the SEA Super Cup coming this summer. An exciting new region coming to the roster is Hong Kong. This is major news because the esports scene is starting to creep into China, and once China is involved in esports, they'll become fully committed. It was only last year at 2020 Worlds that China's Team Suning got second place against Damwon Gaming. Having China enter the esports scene should boost the player base substantially and provide new opportunities for teams never seen before to join the competitive scene. League of Legends and Wild Rift have few connections as of right now. The events are separate, the gameplay is different, and the rune pages are lacking in diversity. Let's look into what runes should be brought over from League PC into the Wild Rift. Right now, Conquers and Electrocute are the 2 most used runes in Wild Rift when it comes to damage-carrying champions. There are 47 champions out of the 65 champions dedicated to dealing damage, but only 2 to 3 viable runes for the entire cast. In League of Legends PC, we have Lethal Tempo, Dark Harvest, and Arcane Comet, just to name a few, to help diversify what specific type of damage your champion needs to deal for specific scenarios. I believe ADC should have 2 more options in terms of runes, one to help with escaping, and another to take down tanks like Lethal Tempo. Lethal Tempo was made for fast attack speed-based ADCs to help chip away against the ever-growing tank problem. Right now, ADCs don't have enough options to deal with champions like Rengar and Braum jumping onto them. A rune like Phase Rush gives a burst of movement after 3 abilities or attacks. Having mobility runes give options to stationary mages and ADCs alike. Mages have also been limited with only 2 viable runes being Summon Airy and Electrocute. Arcane Comet would be the perfect mediator of damage for 1 ability hit champions like Ziggs and Orianna. Not every champion is able to land 3 specific abilities or auto attacks during a normal poke and laning phase. Those are just a few of the runes we would like to see added to the roster, but what about quality of life changes? The Rift has been slowly upgrading ever since its release. The pinging system has been adapted so that normal players can ask for engagements and experienced players can ping enemy coordinates. Communication is key in any team-based game, but Wild Rift is still struggling to find the balance between fast gameplay and communication. So what could Riot do to improve this system? We thought up of a system combining warding and pinging. Just as Pantheon's ultimate pings where he's about to land, maybe in Wild Rift having an automatic pinging system correlated to the range of placed wards should be implemented. The ward system would have the player place a ward normally, but the ward would have an added passive of pinging one enemy every 60 seconds that an enemy has walked past the ward. This would make the game more independent by freeing up hand space on the phone and intrinsically allow everyone on the Rift to be a better player. The change would make warding more popular and effective, giving players an even greater incentive to ward around the map. There would obviously need to be balance changes on the range in which it would automatically ping and how many times the ward would ping, but overall, this idea could change Wild Rift as a whole, and I personally think it would improve the game. If you find these pings intrusive, having a setting to turn the pings off would be implemented. After all, not every player needs the additional help with map awareness. Wild Rift is always adapting and evolving with new champions, events, and gameplay changes. That's why it's so important that you stay subscribed to our channel to keep up to date with everything related to Wild Rift. Leave a like on the video, please, and of course check out our Discord where we hang out and make friends and talk about Wild Rift. I'm Tia, thank you guys so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and I do read those comments, so make sure you answer the question of the day or just drop a thought or whatever you want to say, because I'll read it. Okay, gonna go now, bye!